Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to see class 8 science chapter number 7 metals and non-metals. Dear students, you know very well that in our previous topics we had already studied about atom, then the composition of matter. These things already we have studied, and in a previous chapter, composition of matter, we already came across three types of matter. The one is element, then the compound, and after that we studied mixtures. Now, in this particular topic, we are going to focus on the elements and their one way of classification. We can classify them into two major categories. One is a metal and one is a non-metal. Two specific and the two very important type of the elements. We know very well that we in our day-to-day life we are using a different kind of the articles and the objects which are made up of metals. Now the question comes how to identify which one is a metal, which one is a non-metal. Generally, in a simple words, if I am talking about, when we see the shiny surface, strong surface, tough surface, and conducting material, then these kind of materials will be made up of a metal or the metals. Why I'm using word metals? Because there is a possibility that the mixture of metals are used. That's why I'm used the words over here as a metal or metals. Now, in this particular section or in this particular topic, we are going to talk about the metals and non-metals, their physical properties, and their some of the chemical properties also we are going to discuss in this particular chapter. So first, we will begin with metals, some of the examples of metals which we are using in our day-to-day life, like we are using a copper. Now, where we use copper? We use in the kitchen, the utensils made up of the copper. We use copper in the electrical wirings, electrical circuits. We use copper. Same way we are using gold, the ornaments made up of gold and silver. We are using iron, various articles like hammer, then the various instruments at home, then mechanical tools made up of iron or the cast steel. Like that, different metals we are using in our day-to-day life. Now, first we will talk about the physical properties of the metals. When we talk about the physical properties of metals, in that the first what we have to discuss is a physical state. We have to discuss is a physical state. Most of the metals, or we can say that almost 99% metals are solid in state. As already we know the states of matter, solid, liquid, and gaseous. So metals are generally solids. There are certain exception cases like mercury and gallium, which are found in a liquid state at room temperature. Room temperature means we are considering as 25 to 27 degree Celsius. At this temperature, metals are found in a liquid state, and examples like mercury and gallium. Otherwise, the other metals when we talk about, they are formed or they are found in a solid state. Further, next when we talk about the luster, the next property is a luster. Luster is nothing but the shiny surface of a particular material. All the metal articles, which are in a solid state, if we will polish them, then they will start to shine like gold ornaments, iron, copper. These are the metals or the all metals, if we will polish them, they will start to shine. And that particular property is called as the luster. And basic example is like a copper pot. If we are having, then we are washing it with the lemon. When we wash it with the lemon, it start to shine. Then uh, if we will talk about the mercury also, which is in a liquid state, then that mercury is also having a shine or the luster, and that's why the mercury is used in the thermometers, because it's very shiny. Next property is the hardness. Metals are generally hard materials, but there are again exceptional cases are there, like a sodium and the potassium. They are soft, they are very soft, and we can cut them with a knife also. They are just like erasers, the soft erasers. Same way we have these soft metals like the sodium and the potassium. We can cut them easily with the help of the knife which we are using at home. Further, the next property when we talk about is the ductility. The next property is the ductility. Ductility means what? Metals can be recasted, or they can be drawn or transferred into a form of wires. We can make a thin wire of the metals. Simply, if I am talking about the gold is one of the best metals we are having. If we are having a 1 gram of a gold, we can draw that in a wire which can long up to the 2 kilometer. The length of that particular wire, we can draw it in a form of, or we can recast that gold, 1 gram gold, into a wire, and the length can be reach up to a 2 kilometers. So thin wire we can make with the gold. Like that, the different metals are having a different capacity to get it converted into a thin wires. So that is one of the most important characteristic or a property of the metals. They show the property of a ductility. We can make a thin wires of the metals. The next property is the malleability. Now this malleability, when we talk about malleability, is a property of the metals where we can make a thin sheets of the metals. When we hammer the metals, when we hammer the metals, the size of that changes, or the shape of metal is changes, and we can draw that, or we can make it in a form of a thin sheets. The metal sheets, you know very well, it is used in a die casting the gold ornaments, or the to make the kitchen utensils, the various pots available in the kitchen. They all are made up of the metal. And this metals, then this is possible only because of the one property of the metals, and that is the malleability. Now further, the next one is the conduction of heat. Another important part. I'm just taking the sixth and seventh one together, that is the conduction of a heat and electricity. Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. That's why they are used in the kitchen utensils to cook the food. They are used in the electrical wires to carry the electricity from one place to the another place. Like that, various metals, they are used in a different places, at a different places, because of this particular property. The next one is density. As we had already studied in a previous chapter, composition of matters, that solids, they are arranged very compactly, means the molecules are arranged very compactly in the solids, and that's why the density of metals are high, because as we know, metals are solid in nature, and that's why the density of the metals are high. They have the high density. Sodium, potassium, and lithium are exceptional cases, and that's why they are found in the soft state. They are solid, but they are in a soft state, having lower density than water. These are having the lower density than water, and that's why they are floating on the surface of the water. The density of lithium is only 0.53 gram per cubic centimeter. This Cc means cubic centimeter. Melting and boiling point. The next important characteristic or the property of the metals are melting and boiling point. Melting and boiling points of the metals are high. If you will see this, generally metals have high melting points and boiling points. Exceptional cases are mercury, that is Hg, gallium, Ga, sodium, Na, and K stands for the potassium. These are the examples they have given, or the exceptional metals they have given. Whereas the other metals, they have the high melting and boiling point. Next one is a sonority. The another property what we have to discuss is a sonority. Sonority is nothing but the property of the metals where if we will strike them, they will produce a sound. And the best example is a bell. When we strike the bell, it start to ring or it start to produce a sound. Various musical instruments, they are made up of the metals. They produce a sound on striking. So these are the properties of the metals. Now the next one is non-metals and the physical properties of the non-metals. When we talk about the non-metals, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus are a few non-metals. Non-metals, here the examples they have taken as the carbon, sulfur, phosphorus are few non-metals. Generally, non-metals are brittle and non-lustrous. Now the question comes, what is the meaning of this brittle? Brittle is nothing but if we have a chalk piece, take an example of a chalk piece. If we have a chalk piece and we are striking it with the fist, means by the hand or by the hammer, if we are striking it, what will happen? The chalk piece will break in a multiple pieces, and it depends on the strike. If the strike is too hard, then it may get converted into a powdered form. So this kind of a nature of the particular material is happening, we are calling it as a brittle, means they are easy to break. And another property, that is a non-lustrous, just opposite of a luster. Lustrous we studied in the metals where they shine if we polish them. Non-lustrous means it doesn't matter how much you are polishing it, it's not going to shine. If chalk piece we are rub it for 1 minute or 1 hour, it's not going to shine. Okay, same way, if you are having a wood, polish it as much as you want, it's not going to shine. So these kind of materials or the non-metals, we call them as the brittle and the non-lustrous. The other physical properties, if we will discuss about the non-metals, in that the first physical state, when we talk about the physical state of a non-metals, they are available in all the three different states, that is the solid, liquid and gaseous. Solids like a carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, liquids like a bromine, and gases like a hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. This all is nothing but the non-metals. Next is about the luster. About the luster, when we talk about, they are non-lustrous. Here they have mentioned do not have luster except diamond and iodine crystals. The exceptional cases is a diamond and iodine. They are shiny. Some non-metals are colorless while others have different colors. Then different colors are possible for the different kind of the non-metals. Next is brittleness. They are brittle. That already we have discussed about the word brittle. So they are brittle in nature. Exceptional cases is a diamond, an allotrope of carbon, one of the hardest material existing on the earth. It's having the highest density. Ductility and malleability. Non-metals are neither ductile nor malleable. They are non-ductile non-malleable. Non-ductile means they cannot be converted into wires. Then other side, they are non-malleable, means we cannot transfer them into a thin sheets. For the conduction of a heat and electricity, they are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Exceptional case is a graphite, an allotrope of carbon, which is very good conductor of electricity. Graphite is in exceptional cases. Rest of the non-metals, they are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Now about the density. Non-metals have low density. Metals, there we studied, they are having the high melting and boiling point, high density, and here what we have, non-metals, they have the low density, low melting and boiling points. Now here the one activity comes for you, and that activity is you have to write the distinguish between. So my question, the one question regarding this particular section, what we have done till now, that properties, physical properties of the metals and non-metals we already studied. So your question is write or distinguish between physical properties of metals and non-metals. You have to make a two columns, one side physical property of the metals, one side physical property of the non-metals, and you have to write a comparative points. Comparative points means here if you're writing for the metal on the left side, if you're writing as a lustrous property of the metals, and on the right hand side you have to write it as a non-lustrous. Like that, comparatively points you have to write, and you have to write and you have to post it back in a Google Classroom. This is the first assignment of this particular chapter. Now let's go ahead towards the metalloids. Till now we said about the metals and non-metals. There are some elements which show the property of metals as well as the non-metals. They are the intermediate of metals and non-metals. It's like a junction of metal and non-metals. So they have some characteristic of or some properties of the metals, and they have some property of the non-metals. If I want to draw it like one side as a metal, and let's change the color for it. If one side as a metal, one side as a non-metal, then this is the portion of the, this portion is nothing but the metalloid, means the junction of metals and non-metals. This is nothing but what the metalloids, where it shows some properties of the metals, some properties of the non-metals. And examples they have given over here is a silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony have properties which are intermediate between metals and non-metals. Such elements are called metalloids. If you want, you can write the definition for the metalloids over here. Some elements have properties which are, from here you can write, some elements have properties which are intermediate between metals and non-metals. Such elements are called metalloids. This is about the physical properties of the metals, non-metals, and metalloids. In the next section, we will talk about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals.